up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. Before I dig deep into the topic or dig deep into my story time, I just want to say make sure you guys subscribe to my channel and watch all my videos, like, share, all that jazz. More content coming soon. So today is going to be a story time, a little serious, just about me finding out that my son has autism. So my son is 5 years old. He was technically, like officially, clinically diagnosed about a couple weeks ago. So the age of 5. But me and his dad kind of already knew, if you will, or kind of like prepared ourselves for that actual diagnosis. I think we were already kind of moving like he, had autism. Finding out now, I didn't cry. I think just because I was already kind of, I already kind of knew, and that just kind of literally like solidified it for me. So now, like when people ask, like if he's acting awkward around them, I could be like, oh, he has autism, instead of me saying, oh, well, he just doesn't talk right now, or he just doesn't like this, that, and the third. I can actually put a name to it and people can kind of understand it better. So yeah, that's that. Going back though to just at first, let me just start from the beginning. So Zay did not, I think we kind of knew when he wasn't like hitting certain milestones by certain ages, and so I don't like it's just kind of weird because like he was kind of advanced with a lot of things, but at the same time, like I guess the quote unquote main things, like talking, he was very delayed. And so then, which was probably between like 1 and 2, when I was just kind of like, oh, like, this isn't normal, or just people, kind of telling me like, hey, that's when I kind of started looking into different programs and stuff. So with that being said, let me go all the way back to the beginning. So, and I'm sorry if I'm all over the place, y'all. I just don't really like know where to start or how to really get this story out. But basically, this is my first child. Okay. So, I think grandparents, our parents, they kind of have the tendency, especially within our community, to be like, oh, well, do this. And we did this. And are you sure that you're doing this? And all this extra stuff. So that was kind of, if I can be honest, irritating and annoying, because it's like, yes, I know that this is my first child, but don't underestimate my, motherly skills, or don't underestimate, what I'm doing. So with them kind of like, in my ear about certain things, and then just also me doing research, like I'm literally the type of person to like, I can just watch something and I'm like, let me look this up and see, what I'm saying, like what this is about or what this means. So I was kind of looking into stuff like that already. And when I first started looking it up, I think the first sign, like the first official sign, was really him just not speaking. And then when I started looking up like autism, he would have some of those behaviors that they associate with autism. For instance, walking around in circles, or, shaking hands like this, or, he would kind of like look back a lot like that, or he would, kind of like do this to himself, not trying to harm himself, but just, just kind of doing this, or even just like slapping on his knees. So he had all of those types of behaviors, like, walking on his toes and all of that. So when I started reading up, on it, like how, for instance, if we're sick or something, we're like, oh my God, like, what does this mean? Like, and then Google says it's cancer, or it's, you know what I'm saying, something that's just so far-fetched. So when stuff was lining up, I think that's kind of when I started to feel some type of way about it, because I'm like, oh snap, this might be real. And for this to be my first child, for this, you know what I'm saying, that's having to raise your first child is enough. You know what I'm saying? Because you're learning everything. And to do that plus deal with his obstacles of, you know, not being able to talk, or not being able to ask for what he wants, not being able to hear him say mama, or daddy, or I love you, or just anything that a average child would be by certain ages. So I think that's kind of when it hit hard for me. I remember I did like a project on autism in my science class, because I was like, I want to dig deeper into this and just actually figure out, you know, like what's going on. And I think a misconception is that like people with autism, like a lot of people don't show like the actual like nonverbal, or, you know, different type of signs that people would think autism is. So like your average autism person, you would look at them and you wouldn't know that they have autism. And so with Zay, it's just kind of like, you know, he's so smart, and he's so, like, literally when he started talking and he started saying little things, he learned like his ABCs, his numbers, his shapes, his colors, his, like, he learned all of that. But he wouldn't say mama, he wouldn't say daddy, he wouldn't say I want this or I want that. So it's just kind of like, you know, like he kind of, I just like to say that he has selective talking, because he likes to say what he wants to say, but when he has to kind of say what we as adults, or just what we're accustomed to want him to say, he doesn't really know how to, you know, say it. So when I did this project in class, you know, people are just asking me questions and all this extra stuff. Like, it took a lot for me not to cry and like break down in front of my peers, because I'm like, this is just like, this is like, this is my baby. Like, this is literally my baby, and I have no other like, I don't have a child before him to say, okay, so around this age this happens, or, you know, maybe it's like this, or maybe it's like that, even though every child is different anyway. But you know, I just didn't have that to go off of, so I'm just winging this even now to this day. But that it back then it was hard when he was like 2, just because like it was just new and fresh, and I really didn't know what to make of it. And then, like I said, I have family members who are like, well, are you talking to him, or are you doing this, are you, and I'm just like, you know, just like very overwhelmed and annoyed. But his doctor and also one of my close friends basically recommended First Steps, which is a program here. I don't know if that's everywhere, but I know where I'm at now in Kentucky, that's a program to help, you know, babies around the age. I think the cap off is 3, but let me look that up, because I don't want to I don't want to be wrong about this. But I do think the cap off, oh no, it says the cap off is 5, but hold on, maybe I'm not looking at the right thing. But oh nope, yep, 3. Okay, yep, here we go. And yep, here we go. Okay, because I just want to make sure. So yes, so the cap off was 3. So he got in the program at the age of 2, because he was only in it within a year. And then okay, so within that, the First Steps program, we had a speech therapist and an occupational therapist. So speech, of course, is, you know, working on his speech. Occupational was more so dealing with, and anytime anyone asks me, I literally have to always look it up. So do not judge me, but I am reading a definition. Okay. So occupational therapy helps people work on cognitive, physical, social, and motor skills. So it says the goal is to improve everyday skills, which allow people to become more independent and participate in a wide range of activity. So when Zamir would play, he would like to play by himself. He wouldn't do like how your average child would like to pretend to play or would want to play with you, or to, he liked to line things up. And I remember so vividly when he would line things up, like me and his dad could be walking around and we could accidentally like kick something over and he would like throw a whole fit. He would start crying. He would just, you know what I'm saying? Like he had an order. He liked stuff in a certain order. So that was that. So I think just trying to get him, like, when they were working with him, just trying to get him to play with things the way that you're supposed to play with them. And just, okay, yeah, so here it says, these programs often focus on play skills, learning strategies, and self-care. So like independent dressing, eating, grooming, using the bathroom. And it says fine motor skills like writing, coloring, cutting with scissors, all that jazz. So in the First Steps program, we were really just trying to get him to broaden his play. So getting him to play with different things, getting him to play with others, as far as like, me and his dad or just whomever. And then especially at daycare, because he likes to play by himself. So, he would kind of get upset at first when someone would take a toy from him and, he would throw a fit, start crying. Now that's a completely different story. He still likes to play by himself now, but he can tolerate being around more kids and just having them play around him and, growth. So yeah, speech, we were really literally just focusing on just that. So during this time frame, of course, at 2, you're not really like, you're not a whiz, you're not just throwing out sentences left and right. But at that time, like I said, he learned his ABCs way early in advance. So we were just, okay, you like your letters, let's work with your letters, let's work with your numbers, let's work on your shapes. So we would just kind of try to get him to say these things, or just kind of getting him to just speak, whatever that would be. He would do a lot of babbling, I guess you could say, or cooing, and he kind of still does that now. But he has way more words that he can say. But yeah, so then the First Steps program really helped. And then after the cap off, which was age 3, then he kind of got into preschool. And so, we kind of did a meeting there. And, they kind of just, okay, well, let's just play. Let's just see how he likes to play and how he acts and all of this. And so when I had that meeting with them, I think that was kind of my first time really like tearing up and like crying, because they basically gave an educational diagnosis of him having autism. And I think that's kind of when I finally accepted it. So they, emphasize this is not medically given. This is not clinically diagnosed, but on our end, we do think that he has autism. So we do want him to have speech therapy and occupational therapy. And so at that meeting, we're trying to make his IEP, which is a individual education program and plan, which I have his right here. But yeah, so, in that meeting, I was just kind of like, I was just kind of quiet and I'm just listening, but, they kind of brung it all together and was just like, don't worry, you're doing great. And I think that's kind of like what got me, is like, they're like, you're doing great, Mom. Like you're doing all this and you're taking the necessary steps and all of that. And it was just kind of like, wow, like this being my first child, I have to do all of this extra stuff that your average parent would not have to do. Like I have to take him to therapy, and I have to do, so it's a lot. And like I said, I would try not to cry, y'all, but yeah. So I think that's kind of when it was just like, okay, this is real now. Like I really have to, so I have to really focus on that more instead of like, different little things that parents have to worry about, I guess. I mean, I still have to worry about that on top of this, if that makes sense. But yes, so first steps program ended, he started preschool. The hard thing about preschool is so when he first started preschool, he was at one daycare. That daycare randomly just closed. So I had to try to hurry up and like find him another daycare to go to. So within that small time frame, I couldn't really take him to school because I had to work. Me and his dad both had to work, and it's hard, with the schedules and stuff. Preschool isn't really all day. It's a few hours out of your day. So, that was hard. And then once I found a daycare for him to go to, this is just a whole nother, situation and rant that I can really go on for forever. But his daycare is literally like right next door, like right in front of his preschool. But the buses do not go there for whatever reason. They say that they can't fit in the parking lot. So he wasn't going to school every day, so that kind of hindered his therapy at school. And so he missed a lot of days, and that didn't really, help with his situation. Versus now we make sure that we get him to school, and you can definitely see the difference. Also, his doctor recommended him going to an outpatient therapy. And so we've been doing that for about a year. Actually, it's probably been a year now. And just the growth that I see in my son is just like, it makes me cry like every day, because it's literally just, it's a lot of growth. So I don't know exactly what they do at school and if it's like any different, but I can just say like the outpatient therapy that he does every week, by the way. And then at school, he does speech and occupational once a week. And then we also do the outpatient therapy once a week. So he technically gets therapy sessions 3 times a week, I guess you could say, if you want to look at it like that, with 4 different people, because speech occupational at school and then speech and occupational at the outpatient therapy. But those 2 are the same, like they're in the same session working together. So at those sessions, basically, we really mainly work on speech, and just kind of getting him out of his comfort zone. They have introduced the, I should have brought them over here, but like just basically these little picture cards. So he can look at it and point to it, or, look at the word, or, kind of like the sign, using sign language and stuff. That's another thing that they tried to do in the First Steps program, was basically trying to get him to use sign language, since he can't really, actually speak. That didn't really work. That didn't really work. Anytime he needed something, or anytime that he wanted something, he would just grab one of us and, point, or, he would get very frustrated and start crying because we can't like understand what he's saying. But that's kind of, how we would, oh, okay, you want this. Cool. And like I said, we would try to do sign language, but it didn't really work. But so yes, at the outpatient therapy now, we have like these little cards or whatever with sign language movements on it, and then a word, or just pictures of things like food, whatever the case may be. And so he's doing so well there. He doesn't really get too irritated. I think he kind of knows the routine now, because it's a weekly thing. So he kind of enjoys going. He just kind of gets upset when they kind of do something different or they move on to something new. But I definitely see the growth. He's definitely talking more. He is saying like mommy and daddy. But it's kind of like if I be like, say mommy, and he'll be like, mom, you know what I'm saying? But it's kind of not on his own just yet, I guess, if you will. Even though it's so weird to me, and it's slightly frustrating, because when he's around, like for instance at daycare, like they'll be like, he was ready for you, he was saying mommy waiting at the door, and I'm like, what? He don't say this to me. Or just even when he's with his grandparents, they're like, yeah, he was talking today, and I'm like, where's all this energy when you're home? But needless to say, regardless, I'm still very proud. But I definitely do see the growth. He does, what else? He does also, I think this was another thing too that was kind of a sign, is that he doesn't do well to noise. So he kind of does this a lot when it's too much stimulation, I guess is what they would say. And so we kind of got him these headphones. They used them like one session in his outpatient therapy, and just to see that his reaction, like normally he doesn't like anything on his head. He didn't like hats on his head. He didn't like, you know, like if we were out and we would try to put headphones on him to like listen to his tablet or something, he wouldn't like them. So I didn't think he was going to take well to them, but he actually kept them on for a while. And it kind of calmed him down, because at the therapy session, there was like a very small baby who would cry. He does not like when kids cry. So he's very like, he'll just do this and he'll start humming to kind of like, you know, knock that out. And so when they used that at the session, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to get those, because it seemed like it worked. Does he like to use them here at home? No. So, you know, it's just a work in progress, and we're still trying to figure out different things. But yeah, that's a tool that he uses, is the headphones, the pictures to kind of help show like what he wants. I know we're trying to get him to start using phrases now, or 3-word sentences, if you will, 2 to 3 word sentences. So that's good. He's actually in the stage now where he's repeating everything that you say, which it's funny, but at the same time it's like, okay, gotta, like, he will literally like repeat, like he'll just get in a mode where he's just repeating everything that you say. And so trying to get him, for instance, like he still kind of has the tendency to like pull me to the kitchen if he's hungry or something. So I'll be like, okay, well, what do you want to eat? Or what do you want? And he'll be like, what do you want? And I'm like, no, I'm not telling you to say that. Like, you have to tell me exactly what you want. So that's where the pictures come in handy, because he's thinking that I want him to say what I'm saying, where I want him to tell me what he actually needs. And so we do have those pictures that the outpatient therapy printed out for us, and they're like, okay, use these at home. And, you know, so those kind of help. And then giving him the choices to figure out what he actually wants is very helpful. What else other tools do we do or use? Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to play with him more, I guess. Like I said, he can literally keep himself occupied for hours. He doesn't need anybody to play with him. He does, like, he's very independent in that way, and he likes it that way. So I guess just trying to get him to kind of play and be open to playing, which now, like I said, back then he would throw a fit if you would mess up his little situation, his little game that he would play with himself. But now he kind of, oh, okay, like for instance, if we're doing blocks or something, if he's blocking, I can kind of take a block from his stack and start blocking, and he wouldn't throw a fit. Or I can just start playing with him and he wouldn't throw a fit. So definitely a lot of baby steps. But yeah, just finding out that my baby has autism, kind of, at first it was very, very hard, but now it's just like he's just a regular kid, because he's so smart. Like, he literally could count to 100. Like, I don't even remember how early it was, but it was early. Like, he learned his ABCs on his own, numbers on his own early. So that's why I'm like, certain things he was way more advanced in than your average child. But as far as, you know, walking or talking, saying words and copying words and, you know, doing certain things, he was delayed in. So yeah, but he's just so smart. Like, he's so smart, and he's so funny, and he's so sweet. But yeah, so that's my story time. If you guys have any questions, feel free to you know, hit me up. I could do a part 2. I could try to show you how he does in his therapy sessions, how he does at home. You know, I am learning. If you guys have any tips for me, if you have kids or siblings with autism or know anyone with autism, I am definitely open to any feedback or advice that you can give, because it will definitely help. So yeah, thank you guys for watching though. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, comment, like I said, if you have any questions or advice, and until next time, bye guys.